Have you ever just looked out at the ocean? Like really looked at it. It's kind of overwhelming, isn't it? All that water stretching out to the horizon and beyond. Makes you think about all the things we don't know, all the secrets hidden down there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's such a vast, unexplored world, really. And that's exactly what we're diving into today.
Right into some of the most baffling disappearances in maritime history.
We've got a collection of cases here that are just, well, they're incredible.
Ships vanished. Crews gone without a trace. We're talking ghost ships, unexplained events.
I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up.
And the really crazy thing is these aren't just stories from, centuries ago. Some of these happened relatively recently.
Yeah, within the last 100 years or so.
So are you ready to unravel some maritime mysteries?
Absolutely. I'm fascinated to see what we uncover.
All right, then, let's get started. First up, we've got 5 cases. And trust me, each one is more bizarre than the last.
We're talking the Mary Celeste, the USS Cyclops, the Carol A. Deering, the SS Bakemo.
And then we have the legend of the Octavius, which is just, well, you'll see.
Wild one.
Now, we've got a ton of material to sift through. Historical records, eyewitness accounts, theories, speculation. Our goal here is to make sense of it all.
Or at least try to.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, some of these mysteries might never be fully solved, but that doesn't mean we can't dig deep, explore the evidence, and try to understand what might have happened.
And I think, maybe even more importantly, what these stories tell us about the ocean itself.
Right. It's this beautiful, awe-inspiring force of nature.
But it can also be incredibly dangerous, mysterious, even cruel.
Okay, let's start with probably the most famous maritime mystery of them all. The Mary Celeste. This is the one that really sparked people's imaginations. It's like the quintessential ghost ship story.
Absolutely iconic.
December 4th, 1872. A ship called the Dei Gratia, sailing in the Atlantic, spots another vessel drifting. Looks perfectly normal from a distance.
Just kind of bobbing along, you know?
Yeah. Now, this other ship is the Mary Celeste, a brigantine, which is like a 2-masted sailing ship.
Right, kind of a classic sailing ship design.
So the Dei Gratia gets closer, and things start to get really weird really fast.
It's like something out of a nightmare.
The Mary Celeste is seaworthy. It's not damaged. It's got a cargo of alcohol all intact.
So at first glance, it's like, what's the problem?
But then you realize there's no one on board. The entire crew, gone, vanished.
Poof.
Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife, their young daughter. The whole crew, 10 people in total, just disappeared.
No sign of a struggle, no distress signals, nothing.
Just an empty ship sailing along as if nothing had happened.
Pretty creepy, right?
Yeah, super creepy. So obviously people wanted answers. What happened to the crew of the Mary Celeste?
And that's where the theories come in.
Oh, yeah, there are a lot of theories. One of the most popular ones involves the cargo. The alcohol.
Right, the alcohol fumes theory. The idea is that maybe some of the alcohol leaked out, creating these fumes in the hold.
And those fumes could have been dangerous.
Potentially explosive. So imagine you're the captain. You smell these fumes, you think the ship's about to blow up.
You got to get out of there.
Fast. So maybe they panicked, abandoned ship in the lifeboat.
But then, what? The lifeboat sinks. They get lost at sea.
Something must have happened. They never made it to shore.
It's a scary thought, right? To think that fear and maybe a bit of bad luck could lead to something like that.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that even something as seemingly safe as a ship can turn dangerous in an instant.
And the ocean doesn't always give you second chances.
Nope. It can be unforgiving.
Okay, so that's the alcohol theory. Another possibility is, well, something a little more dramatic.
Like a rogue wave, maybe. Or a massive storm.
Yeah, those are always contenders when you're dealing with the open ocean.
Especially in the Atlantic. It can get pretty wild out there.
So picture this. The Mary Celeste is sailing along, and all of a sudden, this monster wave hits.
A wall of water out of nowhere.
It could have swept people overboard.
Right.
Damaged the lifeboat.
And the ship itself might have been damaged enough to make the crew think it was going to sink.
So they abandon ship, thinking it's their only chance. But then maybe the storm passes, the ship stays afloat, and they're left adrift with no way to get back.
Lost at sea.
It's a chilling thought, but it's certainly possible.
Oh, absolutely. The ocean is full of surprises.
Yeah.
And not all of them are pleasant.
All right, so we've got alcohol fumes, we've got rogue waves. There's another theory that's a little different.
More internal, right. Something happening on the ship itself.
Exactly. This is the food contamination theory. What if the crew got sick?
Maybe something they ate Or the water supply was contaminated.
Yeah, something that made them delirious, disoriented.
Maybe even violent or irrational.
So in that state, they might have done things they wouldn't normally do.
Like abandon ship for no logical reason.
Or maybe even turn on each other.
It's a dark thought. But, I mean, food poisoning can be pretty serious.
Yeah, and if you're already in a stressful situation, like being at sea for weeks...
It could definitely push people over the edge.
Now, of course, we can't ignore the possibility of something more sinister.
Piracy, mutiny.
Exactly. I mean, the Mary Celeste was carrying a valuable cargo.
And it was sailing through waters that were known for piracy at the time.
So it's not out of the realm of possibility. But here's the thing. There was no sign of a fight, no evidence of violence on board.
Yeah, that's what makes it so tricky. If it was pirates, you'd think there'd be some trace, right?
Right. So maybe it was a mutiny. The crew turns on the captain, takes over the ship.
And then what? They sail off to some remote island and start a new life?
Or maybe they get into trouble somewhere else and the ship sinks.
It's possible. But again, there's no real evidence to support it.
And then there's the insurance fraud theory.
Ah, yes, the classic
Yeah.
did they fake their own deaths angle.
But I mean, come on, right? Risking your life and the lives of your family for insurance money?
It's a bit far-fetched. And there's no evidence that the captain was in financial trouble or anything like that.
So where does that leave us? I mean, we've got all these theories.
But no definitive answers.
That's the Mary Celeste for you. A mystery that has endured for over 150 years. And probably always will.
It's a reminder that sometimes things just happen. And we'll never know why.
Okay, so the Mary Celeste is a tough act to follow. But our next case is just as baffling, maybe even more so.
Oh yeah, this one is huge. Literally.
We're talking about the USS Cyclops, a massive U.S. Navy collier.
Basically a giant coal-carrying ship.
Over 500 feet long, with a crew of over 300.
And it just disappeared.
Vanished into thin air. March 1918, the Cyclops leaves Barbados loaded with manganese ore.
Headed for Baltimore.
And then nothing. No distress signals, no wreckage.
No survivors. It's like the ocean just swallowed it whole.
And we're not talking about a small sailboat here. This was a massive ship.
It's the largest U.S. Navy vessel to ever disappear without a trace.
So how do you explain something like that?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the theories are all over the map.
Well, given the location of the Bermuda Triangle, I guess we have to start with the usual suspects.
Storms, right?
Yeah. Was the Bermuda Triangle really as treacherous as people say?
Well, it's definitely known for unpredictable weather.
Hmm.
And storms can pop up out of nowhere.
So maybe the Cyclops ran into one of these superstorms, a massive hurricane, something that just overwhelmed the ship.
And with no time to send a distress call.
It's possible, right?
Definitely possible. Especially if the storm was strong enough to scatter the wreckage over a wide area.
Making it even harder to find.
Exactly. The ocean is good at hiding its secrets.
But there's another theory that focuses on the ship itself.
You're talking about the structural failure theory.
Right. Apparently, the Cyclops was known to have some structural issues.
Yeah, it was kind of top-heavy.
Yeah.
And there were reports of weaknesses in the hull.
And it was carrying a heavy load of manganese ore.
Which could have put extra stress on those weak points.
So maybe under the right conditions, the ship just broke apart.
A catastrophic failure leading to a rapid sinking.
And then, no time to call for help.
It's a plausible scenario, especially with a ship that was already known to have problems.
Now, we also can't ignore the fact that this happened during World War I.
Right. Could it have been enemy action?
I mean, German U-boats were active in the Atlantic.
It was definitely a possibility. But there's no evidence of a U-boat attack.
No records, no wreckage that suggests torpedo damage.
And no German claims of responsibility.
So unless some secret document surfaces.
It's probably safe to say that enemy action was not the cause.
But what about other strange phenomena, things that we might not fully understand?
Like rogue waves.
Yeah. Could a rogue wave sink a ship the size of the Cyclops?
It's not impossible. These waves are incredibly powerful. And they can appear out of nowhere.
So maybe a rogue wave hits the Cyclops, causes major damage.
And the ship goes down quickly.
It's definitely dramatic. But could it really happen?
Well, rogue waves have been known to sink much larger ships than the Cyclops.
So it's on the table.
It has to be.
Okay, but what about the human element? Was the captain of the Cyclops a good seaman?
Well, there are some conflicting reports about Commander George Worley.
Some people said he was a skilled captain. Others, not so much.
There were rumors of erratic behavior, questionable decisions.
So maybe, just maybe, human error played a role in the Cyclops' fate.
A misjudgment, a navigational mistake.
Something that put the ship in the wrong place at the wrong time.
And sealed its doom.
So, the USS Cyclops. Another maritime mystery that remains unsolved.
And probably always will.
It's a sobering reminder of how little we know about the ocean and how quickly it can turn deadly.
And how even the biggest, most powerful ships are ultimately at its mercy.
Okay, time for a change of pace. Let's move on to the Carol A. Deering.
Ah, this one is interesting. A real maritime whodunit.
We actually find the ship in this case.
But the circumstances are very strange.
January 1921. The Carol A. Deering. A 5-masted schooner.
That's a sailing ship with 5 masts, just to clarify.
Right. It's found run aground on Diamond Shoals, off the coast of North Carolina.
Diamond Shoals is notorious for shipwrecks. Very dangerous waters.
And here's the thing. The ship is intact. No major damage.
But the crew is missing.
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
And it's not like they just, popped out for a swim.
No, this was a hurried abandonment.
Their personal belongings were left behind.
And more importantly, the navigational equipment was gone.
The chronometer, the sextant, the ship's logbook, all missing.
Which suggests that they didn't plan to leave the ship permanently.
Something happened. Something that forced them to get off that ship fast.
Right. And the question is,
yeah,
what was it?
Well, given the location and the time period...
We're in the middle of Prohibition, by the way.
Right. So could it have been pirates? Or bootleggers?
That part of the coast was known for both.
So maybe the Deering was involved in some shady business? Smuggling alcohol, maybe?
And they ran into some trouble. A rival gang, or maybe even the Coast Guard.
They get boarded, the crew is taken hostage or killed.
And the ship is left to run aground.
It's a pretty plausible scenario.
It fits the evidence.
But there's another possibility, one that we've encountered before. Mutiny.
Always a possibility on a long voyage.
Yeah.
Especially if there are tensions among the crew.
So maybe there was a disagreement, things escalated.
And a faction of the crew took over the ship.
They forced the captain and the others off the ship.
And sail off to who knows where.
And they take the navigational equipment and the logbook to cover their tracks.
It's possible. But again, we have no proof.
And of course, we can't rule out the forces of nature.
Storms, right.
Yeah. Even though the Deering was found relatively intact.
It could have been damaged enough in a storm to make the crew abandon ship.
Maybe they thought it was going to sink. They launched the lifeboats.
And then they're lost at sea,
Yeah.
or picked up by another ship that never reports the rescue.
It's another frustrating case, isn't it? So many possibilities.
But no definitive answers.
The Carol A. Deering. Another ship, another vanished crew, another enduring mystery of the sea.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What really happened out there?
Okay, let's take a break from disappearances for a bit. Our next case is a little different.
Ah, the SS Baikamo. Now, this is a story of survival.
The survival of a ship, that is.
A ghost ship, some might say.
Okay, so picture this. October 1931. The Baikamo, a steel-hulled cargo steamer.
A tough, sturdy ship built for the Arctic.
It gets trapped in ice near Barrow, Alaska.
Pack ice. Thick, heavy ice that can crush a ship like a tin can.
The crew tries to free the ship, but it's no use.
The ice is too thick, the weather is too bad.
They decide to abandon ship. They think it's a lost cause.
They figure the Baikamo will be crushed by the ice or sink.
But here's where it gets weird. The Baikamo doesn't sink.
It breaks free of the ice and starts drifting.
On its own, no crew.
A ghost ship sailing the Arctic.
And get this, it keeps drifting for decades.
Decades. People kept seeing it. Inuit hunters, other ships.
They'd board it sometimes, salvage what they could.
But no one could claim it. No one could sail it away.
It was just this phantom ship, this ghost of the Arctic.
A legend, almost.
So how did it survive? I mean, the Arctic is a brutal place.
It is. But the Baikamo was built for those conditions. Strong hull, powerful engine.
And maybe in a strange way, the ice actually helped preserve it.
Acting as a kind of shield against the worst of the storms.
And the currents, the winds, they must have carried it along on this incredible journey.
For almost 40 years.
It's an amazing story, isn't it? A testament to the resilience of some ships.
And the unpredictable nature of the ocean.
Okay, last but not least, we have the legend of the Octavius. Now, this one is a bit different.
More of a ghost story than a true maritime mystery.
But it's still fascinating. And creepy.
Oh, it's definitely creepy.
So the story goes like this. 1775, a whaling ship, the Herald, encounters another ship adrift off the coast of Greenland.
A derelict ship.
They board it and they find a horrifying sight.
The crew is dead. Frozen solid.
Frozen solid, every single one of them.
And the captain. He's found in his cabin, at his desk, pen in hand.
As if he was writing in the logbook when he froze to death.
And the logbook.
Yeah.
It tells a chilling tale.
It says that the Octavius had been trapped in the ice for 13 years.
13 years.
The captain had been trying to navigate the Northwest Passage.
A shortcut through the Arctic that everyone was searching for at the time.
But the ship got trapped. The crew died.
And they drifted for years, a frozen tomb.
Until they were found by the Herald.
Spooky, right?
Yeah, super spooky. But is it true?
Well, that's the thing. There's no real evidence to support the story.
No records of a ship called the Octavius, no corroborating accounts.
It's most likely a maritime legend, a story passed down through generations of sailors.
But it's a powerful legend, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It speaks to our fear of the unknown, the power of nature.
And the idea that even in death, we might be trapped, forever adrift.
It's a haunting thought.
So there you have it, 5 maritime mysteries. Some based in facts, some in legend.
Each one unique. Each one leaving us with more questions than answers.
What happened to the crews of the Mary Celeste, the Cyclops, the Deering?
How did the Bekimos survive for so long on its own?
Was the Octavius ever a real ship, or just a figment of our collective imagination?
These are questions that might never be fully answered.
But that's part of what makes them so fascinating. It's the mystery, the unknown.
It's the power of the ocean to keep its secrets.
And it's a reminder that even in this age of technology and exploration,
there are still things out there that we don't understand.
And maybe some things that we never will.
The ocean is a powerful force.
And it's full of mysteries waiting to be discovered.
Or maybe some mysteries are best left unsolved.
Something to think about, isn't it? So, which of these mysteries do you find most intriguing? And what theories do you have about what might have happened? Let us know in the comments.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Until next time, fair winds and following seas.
And keep an eye out for those ghost ships.
You never know what might be lurking out there.